Well, it's that time again. Oh, what did I do? Didn't get my prop up right. It's that time again when I was going to go to bed, but I figured I was going to make one more video. Let me continue. It's that time again when the infighting on the left takes place, and it's all a big ado about nothing. Social media, in particular YouTube, made many unknown people into very well known people or quasi well known people. If you're on the left, and even if you're a fairly knowledgeable conservative, politically speaking, you may be aware of some of the following names: the Young Turks, probably the biggest kid on the block, probably the Beatles of social media, left independent media today. Um, Not as good as it used to be, but better than the mainstream media, although it gets questionable occasionally. Suffice to say, I'm not as big a TYT fan as I was years and years ago. The Kyle Kalinske show, obviously a very big fan. David Pakman, always liked David Pakman. The Amazing Atheist, I've always liked The Amazing Atheist. Nico House, enjoy his perspective. Became a very big fan recently of Combo Couch. Sam Cedar can be boring at times, but Sam Cedar does have depth to his commentaries, and strangely enough, with the bickering between Sam Cedar and Jimmy Dore with regard to force a vote, the fact that even though he was still shitting on Jimmy Dore, the fact that he did kind of endorse force to vote made me think better of him. So I'm watching his program a little more. Uh, um, Tim Black, always listen to Tim Black in the last probably 6-7 months, and I really love his program. He I don't know how in the hell I missed out on Tim Black, but I highly recommend watching his program. Chapo Trap House, another program I missed out on, and is actually pretty good. If you ever get a chance, check out Chapo Trap House too. Graham Elwood, Kim Iverson, Empire Files with Abby Martin, another one that's really good. Bad Faith with Brianna Joy Gray, highly recommend that as well. Glenn Greenwald, and for some reason, there are people starting to shit on Glenn Greenwald out of the blue when there's no reason to. He's usually on point about things. And then there's Vaush and Jimmy Dore. Now, sorry I didn't mention any more names, but you get the idea. You get the gist what I'm talking about. At least I think you do. In the last few months, and maybe going back far back as 2016, when Jimmy Dore was on the Young Turks, uh, for some reason he seemed very polarizing. It's actually quite understandable. Um, in fact, I think one of the reasons the Young Turks went downhill in my eyes was Jimmy Dore exiting the Young Turks. Um, he was always critical of establishment Democrats. So was, for the most part, the most people for the Young Turks. Uh, there might be some exceptions, and but they seem to be very critical against the Democrats. Um, well, I would say that if I have a problem with Jimmy Dore, is maybe the hyper criticism of Bernie Sanders and AOC too much. I'm not saying they are to be shielded from criticism. I've actually criticized Bernie Sanders and AOC here too. They're human beings, and human beings are susceptible to mistakes. So, you know, go ahead. When somebody needs to be criticized, just let it out. But I do think that the criticism is counterproductive and too harsh. Um, when he chose Tulsi Gabbard over Bernie Sanders, and here are my thoughts on Tulsi Gabbard in on March 1st, 2021. which significantly differs from my overall views of Tulsi Gabbard from a year ago, or even as late as the election, around the time of the election. And that is, well, I think that there were worse Democrats in a 2020 primary than Tulsi Gabbard, but Tulsi Gabbard was my second choice back then. Um, Looking back in hindsight, I think I would have probably chosen another person. But the thing about it is that thing about it is that it was really counterproductive to support Tulsi Gabbard in any way when I thought that the left should have been behind Bernie all along. I'm talking about not just Tulsi Gabbard, but I'm talking about the Andrew Yang supporters, the Yang Gang. I'm talking about a significant faction from Elizabeth Warren's camp. Now, Elizabeth Warren's camp is ideologically mixed, or was ideologically mixed last year. The better people from the Elizabeth Warren faction should have gotten behind Bernie Sanders. And I think that if they would have all kind of coalesced behind Bernie Sanders, because Marianne Williamson did the right thing and supported Bernie Sanders, and um, Bill de Blasio from New York also got behind Bernie Sanders. It could have put a stop to Biden getting the nomination and could have potentially had Bernie Sanders as our president today. So, I think that now looking back at the 2020, anybody that didn't support Bernie Sanders in back then were wrong. They choose their candidates in that primary, and the chicanery that took place could have been largely avoided. I'm trying to get over 2020 and 2016, but sometimes this is still relevant. Jimmy Dore was most profoundly correct on force to vote. And I know force to vote is a thing of the past, but he was very, very correct on that. Now, here's the thing about Jimmy Dore, and I can understand why some people on the left don't like Jimmy Dore. He's got he's got an asshole demeanor. I mean, he can be kind of abrasive, and and sometimes he seems to lose patience with people, and when it gets that way, he's not particularly likable. But the thing about it is that he's still largely correct on a lot of his analysis. There's Vaush. Now, I was not particularly fond of Vaush at first, but he took a little getting used to. And the more I listen to Vaush, I'm beginning to be, I certainly am not like a huge fan, but I do appreciate his perspective on things, and I definitely agree with Bosch more than I disagree with him. So I mean, I listen to Bosch these days. I would say that maybe a few things that bothers me about Bosch was the fact that he was too much an enthusiast when it came to supporting Joe Biden after the primaries was over. Um, Calling yourself an anarcho Bidenist, that's just too much. I don't blame him for choosing Biden over Trump as a lesser evil, but come on now, let's don't get too carried away. And I would like to see a little bit more criticism of the corporate Democrats from Bosch. He doesn't do it quite enough. It's one thing to talk the game, and it's another thing to sit there and sound like you're a mouthpiece for the DNC. Now, if Bosch is listening, and I will even admit this, Bosch is listening. Thing about it is, he can say what he wants about me. I don't care. I know that Bosch is 100 times more intelligent than I am. I mean, he's a smart guy. There's no dispute about it. And as I said, I agree a hell of a lot more with Bosch than I disagree with Bosch. But Bosch has a propensity to not be patient and to deal with nuances. When Nico House was on Vaush this past summer, was and they were debating, and the subject of fascism came along, and Nico House referenced civility fascism, and Vaush kept interrupting, and he would not let Nico House point, follow through. I knew what Nico House was implying. And yes, Vaush had a textbook definition of fascism, correct. But he needed to realize that there was a nuance behind what Nico House was saying. Nico House would be inclined to agree with Vaush about that textbook definition of fascism, but he would not let Nico House finish what he needed to say. And for 20 minutes, they kept cutting each other off back and forth. It's kind of hilarious watching it. I kind of watch it for shits and giggles sometimes still. But probably the thing that offends me the most about Vaush in the last year, getting acquainted when he basically harshly criticized Kyle Kalinske over his meltdown about how Bernie Sanders was done dirty, and without just realizing how angry many of us are. I mean, and the thing about it is, I'm still angry and still trying to get over it, and I'm going to probably keep saying that for the next while. But point I'm trying to make is that with Vaush, I was a little irritated about it, but it's amazing because occasionally Kyle Kalinske would mention Vaush on the air, and he actually says something about he likes Vaush and he's aware that Vaush seemed to not be too crazy about Kyle Kalinske, but Kyle Kalinske, decided just not to let that bother him and say what's valid about Vaush. Um, and I like the fact that Vaush actually has shoe on head occasionally on his program, and I like the fact that Kyle Kalinske occasionally mentions shoe on head too. This is just a chance for me to talk about shoe on head because I am a fan of shoe on head, as you can tell. Let me put this back. Hopefully, she will not fall to the side. There we go. Okay, let me slide this. There we go. There you go. This is to signify I'm a shoe on head fan, by the way. Let's see here. Let's see. Where we go on? My notes. On February 27, and I had the link listed below in the description box. Whether Jimmy Dore is to be considered an ally or not by the eyes of the left. And so Vaush was talking about it, and he was talking, and he referenced and played some videos from Sam Cedar over what he accused Jimmy Dore doing, siphoning new subscribers from people who are not to be considered our political allies, and and then having Vaush criticize Jimmy Dore for being on Tucker Carlson. Now, he's been on Tucker Carlson many times in the last several years. I mean, the last year and a half, I believe, maybe 2 years. Talking about Jimmy Dore, and every time Jimmy Dore gets on Tucker Carlson, some factions of the left get all upset over this. Now, if these people on the left weren't too upset when Bill Clinton gets interviewed on Fox, or Barack Obama gets interviewed on Fox, or that Bernie Sanders has been on Fox, or that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been on Fox, then why the hell y'all gonna get mad that Jimmy Dore's been on Fox? Kyle Kalinski's been on Fox. David Pakman's been on Fox. Why are y'all mad if all of a sudden Tucker Carlson gets on? Jimmy Dore gets on Tucker Carlson. I'm trying to talk clearly. But why get upset? Because it's just a chance to go and shit on Jimmy Dore. That's all it comes down to. The way I look at it is that if Bernie Sanders or AOC, who are elected representatives of the movement that we want to pursue, or if people from the independent media like David Pakman or like Kyle Kalinske, or in this case, Jimmy Dore gets on Fox, if these people can turn if they could turn a MAGA, if they could turn a silly neocon, somebody who gets their talking points from the late Rush Limbaugh, if they can sit there and listen to Jimmy Dore or whomever else, and they talk about anti-war in a way that makes sense, talk about Medicare for all in a way that it makes sense, talk about good progressive common sense ideas that make sense, and you can turn these Republican right-wing people into Bernie bros. And I know Jimmy Dore's harsh on Bernie Sanders and AOC, but you get my point. If you could turn these people into Bernie bros, wouldn't it be worth it? Wouldn't it be worth it? I think it would be worth it. I got no problem with Jimmy Dore being on Tucker Carlson, or even if Jimmy Dore was on Mark Levin or Sean Hannity, who are, to my opinion, worse than Tucker Carlson. I know I'm not supposed to say that, because anybody, I don't particularly agree with Tucker Carlson, but if anybody says anything that's short of critical of Tucker Carlson, then they get to be the recipient of cancel culture. Ask Crystal Ball. But anyway, the thing about it is to sit there and accuse Jimmy Dore being secretly right wing. That's cheap. That's low. I mean, look at the issues where Jimmy Dore where he resides. Look at what the issues. Jimmy Dore is a proponent of Palestinian rights, and he criticizes the Israeli government in most of his commentaries on that subject. That is a no-no in Fox News world. It is a no-no in the modern Republican Party, unless you're in the extreme white nationalist area. That faction of the right, they may be anti-Zionist and anti-Israel, and doing so for the most evil reasons. But if you're a normie Republican, any criticism against Israel is a no-no. It's surmountable to being an anti-Semite. Jimmy Dore is not Jimmy Dore is not a Dave Rubin. He's not a Glenn Beck, and he's not a Mark Levin or a Sean Hannity, especially on issues like Palestinian rights, whereby they don't recognize it. Um, accusing Jimmy Dore of being right wing when he's for Medicare for all by saying that Obamacare was a right wing healthcare plan. Guess what? Obamacare was a right wing healthcare plan. It was an idea proposed by the Heritage Foundation. Now, I've had liberals tell me I'm full of shit. I have had Republican Party hacks telling me I'm full of shit. Doesn't matter. I'm right. They're wrong. It was called Romney Care initially. It was an idea created by the Heritage Foundation because they didn't want Medicare for all. They don't want single payer. And they trick these cucky Democrats a decade ago into voting for a healthcare plan they themselves weren't too sure of, because Democrats are pushovers. Jimmy Dore is tremendously anti-war. Fox News, when it comes to foreign policy, they are neocon central when it comes to invasions of other countries. And when you criticize the Democrats, there's nothing wrong with criticizing the Democrats for the correct reasons. If the squad and if the TYT and the Brooklyn left are all going to sit there and have this hands-off approach toward criticizing Joe Biden and criticizing the Democrats when they're failing us, as they are trying to weasel their way out of $15 an hour, they were trying to weasel their way out of the $2,000. I guess we're going to get $1,400. That sort of thing. And then you're going to sit there and crap on Jimmy Dore. I mean, just that's ridiculous. And accusing Jimmy Dore of being soft on Trump. Are you kidding me? And he addressed that himself. That it's low hanging fruit. When Trump was president, it was low hanging fruit. to sit there and it's easy to criticize Trump. There's many things wrong with Trump. Okay, low hanging fruit, shit that we all know already. But to go in the backyard and to rip off the bad apples off the tree, that's a little more challenging. And so because it's more challenging, you had normie Democrats and even some lefty Democrats that didn't want to rock the boat too much. And that's the problem, not wanting to rock the boat. You want to rock the boat. You want that corporate Democrat boat to capsize and to take that life raft and to actually get on land to create a better boat. To you know, but anyway, that's kind of the way I see things. And to sit there and to criticize Jimmy Dore and to act like with Sam Cedar claimed that Jimmy Dore's bad tone and attitude is the reason why Medicare for All is going to be delayed 10, 12 years. Jimmy Dore's attitude has nothing to do with what's going on in Washington, D.C. So we ain't going to have Medicare for all, whether we would probably have forced a vote. We sure as hell not having Medicare for all now, since we decided to have the squad roll over and play dead because they fear big old bad Nancy Pelosi was going to punish them. They went and punished AOC anyway by stripping her of her committee's assignments. But oh no, that's the truth. And we can't go and do that. We got to go be on La La Land and make excuses for Joe Biden. La la la. I don't want to hear any excuses about corporate Democrats. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Stop it. Stop it. Tell the truth for crying out loud. There's a lot wrong with our two-party system. It isn't just the big old bad Republicans. Are the Republicans worse than the Democrats? Yes. You didn't hear me hesitate with that answer. Is there a lot wrong with the Democrats? Damn Skippy, there's a lot wrong with the Democrats. They're too much like the Republicans. Well, they're too much like the establishment Republicans. Anyway, so anyhow, I just wanted to address that and give it a rest when it comes to Jimmy Dore. Focus on something else, please. I'm not going to stop listening to Jimmy Dore. I don't agree with him on every single issue. But I enjoy his perspective. I kind of enjoy the angry attitude as well because I share it. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, well, comment anyway. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you that if you're passionate about something, create a platform and utilize it because we're the muckrakers of our time. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and until next time, peace. I am American social democracy. Keep in mind, class struggle yesterday, today, tomorrow, until we reach full and economic justice for all.